Oh, you guys ready? Okay. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Boulder Valley School District Board of Education. Sandy, will you please call the roll?
Albright.
Here.
Belville. Here. Benford. Here. Fuqua.
Here.
Marquis. Here. Myers.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anyone else has my comments here? We've just concluded a special session of the Boulder Valley School District Board of Education, which is why we're starting this meeting a little bit later than normal. But I think anybody who tuned in would have seen the last part of that last meeting was the discussion about air quality at KC Middle School. We are proceeding with our regular agenda now, and I would like to start this meeting. The first item on our agenda will be the superintendent's report. Dr. Messenger.
President Albright, members of the board, good evening. Welcome to round 2 of meetings tonight. So I will give you an update on a few issues we're working on. So first of all, student assessment has been a regular topic I've brought to you, and it evolves through the course of the spring. So the State Board of Education a week or so ago voted to, with a majority, to not have there be consequences for school districts that do not meet the 95% standard. That's information that's been widely published, and so one of the concerns would be that if there's a low participation rate by school buildings or school districts, there could be a consequence around accreditation, which has been in practice in the state of Colorado previously. So as of a week ago, that was the ruling of the board at that time. We received a letter from the commissioner that identified that, and I sent that to all of you, and we've distributed it to our school leadership. So again, we don't know how that'll play out this spring with regard to our participation rate, but that's an option that parents have. If they choose to not have their children participate in the student assessment, they can contact the school administration and indicate so, and then on those testing periods, we'd ask that their children stay at home as opposed to coming to school. If they do come to school, there'll be a study area, age appropriate, for the children during the day so that the testing period for the students taking the test is not disrupted. I did a superintendent's blog a week or so ago and encouraged parents or anyone who read that blog to communicate their preference around student assessment to their legislators and also to the governor. We've had a number of parents who have done just that. So again, I think this is the time for folks to be heard on this issue because we don't know yet what the bill of the day is for legislation on student assessment, but we anticipate there will be a bill, or maybe more than one. So we'll keep you informed on that as we gain more information. But that's where we are with student assessment. We will begin assessment, the first assessment window in March, and we've sent you samples of that. The 3 different levels, so you can sort of get a sense of the time and effort invested in that. I know that we've been contacted by some media to give some additional information around student assessment this week, Chalkbeat, Channel 9 News, and others. So we'll continue to inform our public around those issues. So I just want to give you a quick update. We're working through the principal selection process right now. We interviewed candidates today. We'll be interviewing candidates tomorrow for the elementary openings, and then in short order we'll be doing Centennial Middle School and also Boulder High School. So we're working through that process right now. We feel good about the quality of our candidates. Deirdre and I did second round interviews today with 5 high quality candidates for elementary schools. So that was enjoyable, and we're very hopeful. I'm very pleased that there's the level of interest there is in Boulder Valley School District to lead in our schools. These interview teams include staff, administration, parents, district administrators, community. So as we've done in the past, it's a diverse group of folks that give us their input on the candidates, which is very helpful to us. All right, so let me move on. So teacher recruitment selection, we are ahead of schedule. We are ahead of schedule with being in the selection process for principals, which I just described, and other administrators. We have director positions open, we have assistant principals, we have athletic directors open, so we're busy. And then also, earlier than normal, we have begun to post vacancies for some of these harder to hire positions that we're in competition with our neighboring districts over to hire, and then we're trying to keep moving forward with the allocation of staffing for the schools throughout the district again, so we could be in the prime of the hiring season around that. So staffing, full speed ahead. Assistant Superintendent Shelley Landgraf and team are leading that work, and it's a busy time of the year. Bond construction planning, I just want to keep you informed on that. One of the things that we did is that, pardon, the Phase 1 schools, will be working with them in the next 4 to 6 weeks to help them create their design teams for the individual schools in Phase 1. So we're getting ready to push that forward. And also, we have received proposals for the education design consultants that will work with us to work on these education standards that will help inform our whole construction process. So that'll be a representative committee that we'll recruit for that will develop these education standards for around innovation and other standards. And so we will receive assistance from the selected firm, which we have to go through a selection process to do that. And then also we have posted for the vacancy of innovation director. That'll be a district employee that will work closely with that design team going forward, and look forward to that. This is kind of foundation work we're doing for the bond planning right now, of getting the early planning done, and it'll help inform Phase 1. A lot of what we're doing right now for the next 6 to 9 months will affect Phase 1 schools, the new construction of schools, and also we will, some of that same groundwork will be in place for our Phase 2 and Phase 3 schools. So that'll be a little easier when we get to those second and third rounds. But good work around bond planning, and again, under the leadership of Don Orr, Leslie Stafford, Deirdre Pelch, and many others working on that right now. So that's a quick update on things we're working on, and we are continuing our work, obviously, at Casey Middle School as per my earlier presentation and conversation. So I'd be glad to entertain questions about these topics or any others if there's interest or need. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Questions, board members? Jenny?
So, could you give an example of some harder to hire positions that you referred to earlier?
Yeah, sometimes our advanced sciences would be one of those areas. Sometimes having the right credentialing around advanced placement in some areas might be. Oftentimes, special education, some areas of special education are harder to hire. So, we just sort of, size of pool affects that, and also high demand, and we compete with and then, bilingual staff, and also ethnic minority staff, again, that's a limited pool. So being competitive and timing with that is real critical. And we are back involved in job fairs, recruit fairs, in-state and out-of-state, trying to, begin to build that pipeline. One of the things that you'll find when we come back in March, one of the priority areas that's going to be in our strategic plan is our continued work around that quality pipeline of high-quality employees from all of our professional staff and support staff. So what we're doing right now is very consistent with what you'll see in the action plans.
So do I understand you to say that we're stepping up efforts to hire minority
We are.
employees?
And part of that's timing. If we're not in the job market early, and we're not quite where we want to be with that yet. We would like to keep moving it up.
Well, that's very good news, and I hope that you'll report back to us on any success we have around.
We're hopeful.
things,
We'll keep
yes.
at it.
Yeah, and then I had another question. What was it? So could you remind me about the amount of the total build-out time on this bond? How long it's going to take to do the whole thing?
Well, what we said publicly for the whole 3 phases is 6 to 8 years. Yeah.
I just couldn't quite remember. So
Yeah,
thanks
probably
for
depends
that
a little bit on
reminder.
the availability of contractors and just once we get into it.
Yeah, and the staff that we're hiring, like, for example, the innovation expert, that is paid for out of bond money and not
Correct.
out of
And
our
project
general fund
managers,
money?
any of the folks that we'll employ during the duration of the build-out, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sam? Are you pointing at Tina?
Tina.
Sorry.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Tina?
I'm going to forget my question now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry if you already answered it. Is High Peaks rolled into the interviewing now?
They are not. The timing was such that we've set a date, another window in late March, I think is what we wound up with after spring break. So we'll look at this pool of candidates, obviously, and go back into our pool, and we may have other openings by then. So we just couldn't get the sequence down with getting to the community and getting their input and getting that organized. So we just put it out at a later date. But it'll go through the same process, and there could be more than one school. We have a couple other pending resignations, so if that occurs, then we would include those schools with, if they're elementary schools, obviously, with High Peaks. So end of March, I think, is what our tentative interview dates are scheduled for that.
Okay, and then also, I think I've asked this question before, but it's more of a just checking in. Are we changing the capacity of any of our schools in the first round of the bond build-out?
No, I think other than the rich capacity discussion we had that day at Louisville Middle School, I mean, we're still working through some of those standards that Glenn described that day, but no notable differences in capacity, other than as a result of phase one. We will look at, there could be some changes in capacity as a result of the methodology we use, but that would be plans that we're doing already. One of the things we talked about that morning was that some of the revision that Glenn may recommend is a transition step, and then depending on what we do with some of these design aspects going forward with new buildings and or reconstruction of buildings, we might have yet another review of those capacity standards, but nothing specific as a result of the bond. We've identified the size of the schools, of the 3 replacement schools. That was a part of our bond package, and also the Erie campus, which will be a new school as well. So, but those are new construction. But existing buildings, it's to whatever was on their facility master plan sheets.
Shelley?
Just want to go back to your initial comment about the State Board of Education.
Yeah.
What do you make of their newfound tolerance for parents opting out? And where do you think this is headed?
I don't know. It's a little concerning because the state, or the U.S. Department of Education Secretary Duncan has indicated that if we knowingly support not getting to that 95% threshold, they'll withhold our federal funds. So we're not the only state that message has been sent to. So, I think it could be really the accreditation issue we can manage. The loss of federal funds for the state of Colorado would be huge for education. It would be over $10 million for BVSD, but you take Aurora Public Schools, Denver Public Schools, it would be disabling. So I'm not sure that I think it was wise on this part of the State Board of Education without a better understanding of the potential consequences. So, I'm not about being punitive towards families or parents that they opt out. I've been kind of a champion on this, but I think we always have to be thoughtful about the risk we're running with this. And the loss of special education funds and title funds for our most students in greatest need, career and tech ed funds, that would be a tragedy. So, obviously it will become a big deal if states, Illinois, Colorado, others lose their federal funding over this. But they have the authority to do it if they choose to. So, we'll
Thanks.
watch and stay informed.
Anyone else? Any other comments, board members? No? Well, I have one comment I'd just like to address to Deirdre Pilch, who we have been lucky to have as a deputy superintendent for the last, 2 years, I guess, and with the district forever before that in all kinds of positions, and congratulations on your new job. And as being superintendent of Greeley
Evans?
District 6, am I
Evans.
saying it right?
Greeley Evans, School District 6.
Greeley Evans, School District 6. So congratulations for this great opportunity, and we wish you well. Yeah, this is it.
So, Lori, I wasn't going to do that, but since you did, I'm going to. So I also want to congratulate Dr. Pilch. As many of you know, Deirdre and I have worked side by side since I joined the district 4 years ago, and when I asked her to serve as deputy, and you authorized that 2 years ago, it was with the understanding that we had some big work ahead of us. The facility master plan, the bond issue, the strategic plan, the goals, all the work that we've done together. And you know that Deirdre has been working closely with me and you on that work and has co-led much of that activity. And when I asked her to serve as deputy, it was with the understanding that she would have those kinds of experiences and that we would help lead the district together and have positive outcomes. And I think that has been the result of that. And also to give her a set of experiences that would ready her for the superintendency, which obviously that worked out pretty well also. So the idea is that I would mentor her because I had been a superintendent for then 16 years, now 18 years, and I think maybe I've done some of that in the last 2-4 years in working. But what you know also, because you've worked closely with the two of us, is that she has been my mentor as well. So I've learned a lot from Deirdre, her passion, her commitment to the education of all children and her firm belief of what we can do for all children and staff. And so you also know that I spent 11 years of my career in the Greeley-Evans School District. And so I went there as a principal. I was a director of elementary and secondary education. I was a special education director and served as deputy superintendent for 4 years before I went to Montana. I have a deep understanding of the needs of that school district and that community, and highly supported her candidacy for this position. And through the course of my reference checks last week, I renewed some acquaintances from the last 20 years in Greeley, which were fun, from the university to the business community to the school district, and without hesitation was able to fully endorse her leadership. So it's a huge loss to our school district to have Deirdre leave our leadership team. My leadership team will work hard to replace that lack or that void that will be created by her departure. But I am thrilled that we have, in my opinion, one of the best superintendents in Colorado, going to lead one of the most challenging school districts, in a school district that has a poverty rate of 65%, and a community that's ready to embrace their school district. That's what I heard in the reference checks last week. And so when they said who would be the best person to lead that, again, without hesitation, I said it's Dr. Deirdre Pilch. So to get a 7-0 vote on the first call for the appointment last night from their Board of Education, and the conversations I had with those board members in preparation, is an indication of their commitment. And again, I couldn't be more thrilled to have Dr. Pilch be leading that school district and become my new peer in the Denver Area Superintendent's Group. So congratulations, Deirdre.
Great. So the next item on our agenda is board communication. Board members, any comments? Did we do, what? Right. Sorry. Okay, board members.
So, I do.
Jenny?
So I'd like to just talk to the board about the Colorado School Finance Project, which met last week. And it was a really good meeting. And Lori, you can remind me of things I forget. I would like to say that one of the things we heard was a report from Henry Sobonet, the governor's budget director. And he talked about a math problem the state has, and the fact that we cannot continue to fund public education going forward. Even at the inadequate levels we're funding it now, and expect to do anything else as a state. So it sounded to me like he was actually as cordial to educators as I've ever heard him in one of those presentations, and I think it's because he knows and the governor knows that we all need to work together, the educators, the governor's office, and other interest groups in the state to do something about that math problem. And one of the things that's going to happen that we've talked about is that the state is going to begin giving Tabor rebates, which means that even while we owe this enormous debt to our students, we're going to be giving back tax dollars that we have collected. And I think most Coloradans don't realize that's what's going to happen, and they would expect and if they expect their legislators to spend money, I believe, on educating kids, maybe and not putting small amounts of money back in the hands of taxpayers. And so we're hoping that I would like to see a ballot initiative. And so I have here a letter from Great Education Colorado to Governor Hickenlooper and the members of the 70th General Assembly, saying that we are parents, grandparents, educators, business people, and community members who have a simple message for you now, that Colorado's rebounding economy is producing revenues among the Tabor limit, and that is to keep the surplus for kids. And the letter goes on, however, they hope to collect, Great Education of Colorado hopes to collect 5,000 signatures to present to the state legislature later this year. And I already have been after people in my family and will be after more, but I would like to pass this around, and if that's okay, Lori, can I pass this around and encourage board members to please sign this if they're willing to? Because I think it's really important to have these signatures and to have our voice in the room. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If you pass that down here,
Okay.
if someone lends me a pen, I'll sign that.
Thanks, okay. Comments? No? Dean? Jim? No? All right. Shelley and I went with Bruce and Deirdre to Summit Middle School on a tour this week. Was it this week? On Friday. And it was just really exciting to listen to their ideas about innovation and how to use space. And, I thought it was really interesting to hear the comments that Summit has some ideas and BVSD has some ideas, and together we're doing a really great idea about thinking about innovative spaces. And it's connected to your comments earlier, Bruce, about the bond and the innovative spaces that we're developing. But it was really fun to see the school and see the enthusiasm for some of their new ideas. The other thing I did this weekend was go to a town hall meeting with Senator Heath, held by Senator Heath and Representative Dickie Lee Hollinghorse and Representative Casey Becker. And I would note that there were several students in the audience and several parents of students in the audience who asked some very pointed questions about testing. And I think the response was, we've heard from the community and we think that there will be some legislation that will be brought up. So I think the concerns we've been hearing from our public about the excessive amounts of testing and the negative impact on that is resonating in the Capitol. And so, I'm optimistic about that and look forward to some, hopefully some changes, so we don't have that same amount of testing for our kids, standardized mandated testing, unfunded. Any other comments? Board communication? No? Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent grouping, and I'll read them. 6.1, personnel items. 6.2, approval of minutes, February 10th, regular meeting. 6.3, approval of minutes, February 17th, 2014, special meeting. 6.4, approval of resolution 15-01. 6.5, acceptance of donation El Dorado K-8. 6.6, acceptance of donation food services. 6.7, reduction in force timeline. 6.8, a grant, early childhood education, school readiness assessment from the Colorado Department of Education. 6.9, a grant to food services, equipment for scratch cooking from the Colorado Health Foundation, 2015. And 6.10, a grant to Peak Charter K-12 school health professionals from the Colorado Department of Education. Do I have a motion to approve? Jenny, second. Sam. Board members, any items anyone would like to pull? Seeing none, board members, are there any comments or questions about any of the items? Shelley?
Bruce, could you say more about the reduction in force timeline, what that's about?
So as a part of our contract with the association is that we, the board is obligated in this time frame to make this declaration. It's an annual event. Doesn't necessarily mean that there will be any reduction in force, but it is giving notice that there is the possibility of such, and so we do this each year. So it's an obligation that you have as a part of your commitment to the association, so it just gives them notice. If there are any reduction in force, then obviously we'll bring those to you at a later date. So
So it doesn't signal anything coming? It's just-
nothing different anticipated than year to year.
Okay. Any other questions? Tina?
For the force scratch cooking equipment, are there any associated increases in personnel to process the food tied to that?
I will ask Chief Operating Officer Leslie Stafford to see if you have any additional information on that. Leslie?
No, there's no increases in labor costs with this. This is going to help us bridge the gap between now and when we have the opportunity to build the central kitchen. We're at capacity in our 3 kitchens for the most part. We've discussed this before as we talked about the bond. And these blast chillers will help us bring the temperature down in the food and have greater capacity in our freezers. And it allows for some extra freezer space at KC. So luckily, if awarded this grant, we can also use this equipment in the central kitchen and can move it there.
Anyone else? Jenny?
So, I have to say, I noticed that one of the people that I reported to for many years as a tag advisor, when I was working as a tag advisor at Aspen Creek, Becky Wittenberg is retiring. And I just want to call her out for her dedication over the years to our students and for being a wonderful source of advice and comfort. When I needed help, she was always there, and I think that she will be missed. But I wish her the best in the future.
Great. Thank Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Sandy, will you please call the vote?
Albright?
Yes?
Belleville? Yes. Benford? Yes. Fuqua?
Yes.
Marquis? Yes. Myers?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is study items and agenda setting. Are there any suggestions, comments for our next agenda setting meeting? Tina?
Just following tonight's special meeting, could we set aside some time to talk about what we heard and with Bruce and understand what the timeline is and get some, just a clear idea of the working group and how we can help make sure that this doesn't become a divisive issue in our community?
Sure, great. It's a good idea. We heard a lot of comments tonight, and it's important to follow up. Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, then seeing none, this meeting is now adjourned.
Don't leave it that side.
Thank you all.
Shelley, can I talk to you?